How's it going, friends? Reckless Yuki here. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. And about 4 months ago, I purchased a lot of mice and a lot of mouse pads, trying to figure out which is the best for FPS gaming. And I compiled this list based on what the top CSGO players use, as well as what other YouTubers recommend as their favorite FPS mouse. Now, this video is going to go over one specifically, but if you'd like to know which is the gaming mouse overall, as far as for FPS games, then definitely check out the video in the link in the description. I basically went over all the 8 mice that I tested and compared them based on categories such as comfort, weight, and performance, since those are the 3 categories I feel are most important when it comes to competitive first-person shooter mouses. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the review, and if you're interested in that video, be sure to check out the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the review.
Now taking a close look at the SteelSeries Rival 300, we'll be going over the basic specs before getting into my personal thoughts and opinions of this mouse specifically. Now the sensor is a Pixar 3310 optical sensor. The DPI can be set between 50 all the way up to 6500, which that isn't the most impressive amount, but for a DPI, I think that is plenty high. Anything above that is kind of getting to the ridiculous area. Now, the advertised weight of this mouse is 130 grams, but the gaming weight, where I take a weight of the actual mouse with 1-footed cord, only came out to 103.6 grams. So the mouse is definitely under the advertised weight, and it's definitely not that hefty if you're concerned with the weight, but still 103 grams is a decent amount of weight still. Now, the grip style is advertised to support palm and claw, and it's an ergonomic right-handed mouse, so it's not really going to be comfortable for left-handed users, but it still can be, but I feel that it is still not comfortable. There are better solutions out there for left-handed users. Now, the mouse itself has this like really nice rubberized feel that a lot of the mice have been getting into lately. The left and right side has this rubberized dimple area, so if you are claw gripping it or basically palm gripping it, your thumb and, pinky and ring finger will definitely be able to hold onto it without it slipping out of your hand, which I really enjoy. The clicks of the mouse, it's just the same, very responsive. I don't think I have the dexterity to really tell the difference between most mice, or maybe all the mice that I currently have are all kind of to the higher caliber. So I don't really feel any of them are really subpar, and I enjoy the clicks of this mouse. It definitely makes me reassured that when I'm firing at someone, I actually am with the responsiveness that the mouse gives me. Now, as far as the scroll wheel, I really like this scroll wheel as I'm kind of like scrolling through and trying to change weapons. It gives me, I think, like a more positive reassurance than some of the others. It kind of feels like it gets into each click a little bit better than some of the other mice that I've tested. As far as the side buttons are very nice. They have the kind of same responsiveness as the left and right clicker. So they are easily, and they're very large too, so they're easy to hit with your thumbs. I never miss the button. And whenever I press, like no matter like where I press on it, it always kind of goes in. So I feel that it is a very nice side button orientation. And as far as the looks of it, I have to say that the looks are pretty decent. I like the LEDs that they added in, which can also be turned off, but then they also can be changed to any color since these are RGB lights. So that is good for anyone out there who wants to get the appropriate color to match their keyboard and their gaming station. So if you have some sort of a theme that you want to go with your mouse, then this can basically complement it. So I enjoy that. Now, as far as the responsiveness of this mouse, I feel it is very responsive. It's basically up there with the other mice that I have. I can't really tell if this is worse or better than some of them, but I think due to the weight of this mouse, it doesn't feel as responsive as some of the other mice, where if I need to make small micro movements, I feel that the weight of the mouse, along with the orientation of these pads, like I don't think it gives as much glide as the others as far as for starting inertia or starting movement. But once you do start moving it, it doesn't really feel like anything less than the other mice. But just due to it being a heavier mouse, it could hinder some of the users out there, especially if you're used to a lot lighter mice. So something to be aware of. Now, as far as the shake of this mouse, if there's anything moving around, I don't really hear anything. Let me just make sure. So as I press down all the buttons and shake it around, I can't hear anything as far as anything sounding loose in here. So I feel that the build quality at SteelSeries is superior to some of the other mice I've been kind of testing as far as the shake department. Some of the others, like I'm suspecting that the sensor is shaking, and this one definitely doesn't have any sensor shake. At least that's what I'm experiencing with my version of the SteelSeries optical gaming mouse. And as far as firmware and programs, this definitely does have firmware associated with it. I think like the firmware and the program has been updated quite a lot since the past 3 months I've owned this. When I first got the mouse, I had to update the firmware, and I had to update at least like 1 or 2 other times. So it's kind of good that they are making sure that the firmware of the mouse is constantly being updated to ensure the best performance, but also kind of disheartening to the fact that they have to come out with firmware updates because it wasn't good the first time around. So, you could take it either way, like glass half full, glass half empty. But that's just something else to be aware of. But I am also kind of glad that they are taking the time to ensure that they are updating this to make sure that it is, performing to where us as a gamer would want it to perform. But anyways, let's take a closer look at the software that is basically something you have to download to get full functionality of the mouse itself. Before we get into the software, actually, let me just say that the size of this mouse is significantly larger than the other mouses that I have. Like, this is perfect for a person like me who have large hands. This is the most comfortable mouse I have used. Like, I really love the feel of this mouse, something that I just couldn't get over when I first put my hands on it. It just felt absolutely beautiful. The only thing that I don't like about it is I wish it could be a little bit lighter. If they have to skimp on some of these like rubberized grips, the rubberized feel, just to kind of shed as many grams as possible off of it, I'll be perfectly fine with that. They could kind of redo this to try to get rid of everything and just basically make it a cheap plastic and call it a tournament edition, and I would buy it and absolutely be in love, because if they could just make this lighter, I think it will be the perfect mouse for me, especially because of my large hands. Once again, like, it feels comfortable to palm it. When I palm it, my palms don't like rub on the surface very much, unlike some of the other mice. It's a very tall profile, and it's a very nice large grip, and it's just perfect for my grip style, where I put most of my weight here on the palm of my hand on the bridge, and then my index and middle finger are extended, while my thumb, ring, and pinky kind of pick up more of a claw orientation, and that's how I comfortably grip my mice. And this is just a perfect mouse for that, but just the only downfall of it is basically the weight. And then on the back here, this is something to kind of also mention, is like on the back it says Rival, and you can change this little rubberized piece if you have a 3D printer and basically put your gamer tag or something on the back here so that it can be, your own individual mouse. So that's something nice. But once again, I wish that there is possibly a pro version of this or a tournament version where it just basically kind of cut all the gimmicks off and just gave you the same shape and the same, excellent performance, but just a lighter shell would be my dream. But I also like the fact that it doesn't have a braided cord. It's basically just this like rubberized thin cord, so it doesn't add extra weight, but still some other things to shave off weight would have been nice. But anyways, let's go over to the software. Here we are with the SteelSeries Engine 3, which is something you need to download to take full control of the Rival 300. And this is the first thing that you see when you open up the program. And as you can see, it detects my mouse, the Rival 300, and we click here to kind of go into more specifics of this mouse. Now, one thing to mention with this is if there is something to do with the program, if it needs a new update, basically there will be an alert system here, as well as if there's any firmware to be updated with the mouse itself, there'll be a little red bar here that tells you that there's a new firmware update for your mouse, and you click it to basically update. And then you have to unplug, replug your device for it to take effect, and then you are done, and then your mouse or your peripheral is updated through the SteelSeries engine. So going back to the specifics of my mouse, you have basically full control over all the buttons that you want. If you want to change anything, you can change it here. You have the top view, left view, and as far as the scroll wheel, you could have these set to different colors. You could have it to like a color shift, a breathe, like a steady light, basically whatever you want for your LEDs here for the top as well as for the bottom. You could change these independently, which is something pretty cool. And also you could disable the illumination if you don't want any lights. So that is also a bonus, which I wish some of my other mice would also share. But anyways, that's it for that. You can have a macro editor. If you are into using macros, you can use this to, do that. I personally never use macros, so it's not anything that I really messed with. You can change your DPI. There's only 2 DPI settings here, but that's honestly plenty. You could have your in-game setting and then your basic web browsing settings, so you can have a higher DPI, so you don't, need to move the mouse as much as you would in a game. So that is something also nice. As far as acceleration, deacceleration, you have all the controls here, which is something that I would make sure not to use. You don't want any of this stuff, especially in a first-person shooter. You definitely don't want any angle snapping. And then here is where you could change your polling rate. So you could have it 1,000 all the way to wherever you basically want. So it just kind of goes like that, and it has a nice indicator there. But you can't really freely change it to anything specific. It's basically 125, 250, 500, and 1,000 is what you can do. And then you could have different profile setups. So this is like a default. If you want a different profile, you hit it and basically create multiple profiles if you want, but I don't see a need for that. I personally don't honestly need that. And that's basically it for the software, for the SteelSeries software. So that's my review of the SteelSeries 300 Rival, or the Rival 300. I really enjoy this mouse. I just wish it was a little bit lighter, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to check out my other mouse reviews. I would greatly appreciate the support, and I'll talk to you guys again in the next video. All right, bye-bye.